Welcome to the live stream. We will begin in a couple minutes, but I am behind on taking a couple pictures, but we'll start shortly. If anyone is on YouTube right now, I'll be looking at the comments later. Right now, I just have to take some pictures of said book for my students on Palfish. So, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them in the comment section below. I will be glad to get to them during the live stream. So, I just need to get the 3 wonders here in my book. This is the 70 Wonders of China live stream, and today we are doing silk. It will be the last 3 silk work. There will be the last 3 wonders in the arts section of the book. And while we're multitasking, I will just put up our little stream on the side here. Need to check it out. How are we doing tonight? Alright. Gotta put this up. And, nope. Oh, there we go. So, alright. I am 1 minute late, but welcome to the live stream, Palfish. I had a private lesson that ran into 8 o'clock. I'm sorry for being late tonight. I had a student call at 7:30, and the call lasted till 8. I'm glad you could join us, 992. I'm glad you could join us, Windy89. This is the 70 Wonders live stream, and here is our text below. Yeah, I'm here, Weiwei. Ah, jeez. Welcome, you're to blamed, Pedro and everyone else, and as well as A2C. Glad you all could join us tonight for Silkwork, the 54th Wonder of China. I was delayed tonight. So I am in the United States, and I was delayed tonight due to a private lesson that started just before the live stream. So let us begin with the quote above. And welcome Sylvia Shea, Matilda, and A2C. 100 dogs weaving the colored threads. One morning the loom's shuttle stops. In the loom is a double phoenix, transformed to a garment from heaven's edge. Bong Rong, Tang Dynasty poet. Welcome Ha Hong Jing. I'm glad you could make it to the live stream. So, let's go forward. Silk, along with tea and porcelain, has defined China to much of the world in many periods. It was first made and used there some 6,000 years ago, and has been exported for more than 2 millennia. To the Romans, its production was a mysterious, and they paid huge sums. Welcome now, B52. Glad you could join us tonight. Its production was a mystery, and they paid huge sums for it. In Byzantium and Persia, in the 4th to 6th centuries, raw silk was imported, and local industries developed. Welcome DDB. Glad you could join us tonight. By the 14th century, Persia itself produced raw silk and exported it to southern Europe, and there, over the ensuing centuries, a silk industry was established. Welcome Tiffany, welcome She, and welcome Angela Sun. I'm glad you could join us tonight for Silkwork. The spread of silk production was slow, partly because it required several stages and became the cultivation of mulberry trees, did not adapt easily to different climates. The reeling of silk from wild silkworm cocoons was understood in various places. India, for example, was understood. India, for example, for some time before uh, uh, silk industry was established yet in China. The silkworm, Bombunzi. Welcome, Tiffany Steele. I'm glad you could join us tonight for the live stream. Uh, was domesticated as early as the Neolithic period. The long continuous threads that were reeled from the cocoons were wound up from raw silk, which was then twisted into yarn, ready for weavers to make into silk cloth. This was done on industrial scales and at the level of rural domestic production. Silk was traded both abroad within China as raw silk, bolts of cloth, and finished goods. Welcome to the live stream. Glad you could join us tonight. Vessels and the few surviving fragments of Neolithic silk appeared to belong to belts or ribbons. While the first somatic use can be identified is the wrapping of precious objects in silk during the Shang dynasty. Bronze ritual vessels and ceremonial jades have been excavated from tombs in the north, south, and east China, and quite often bear traces or even fragments of silk that show the weave and texture of the original cloth. I am reading, but if any of you have any experience with the workings or craft of silk, go ahead and state in the comments below and we can discuss further. If not, I will just continue reading to the next section. Some are woven and fairly elaborate geometric motifs. Other evidence of silk from this early period is indirect jade carvings in the form of silkworms or ox bones bearing ... So Weiwei, I am in the United States, specifically Victorville, California. Welcome Peter Yang, and welcome Andy YX. Okay, so welcome minions, I usually talk about the pictures in each section after the reading is done, but if you would like me to change the format, I can easily do so. For now, I'm just going to read forward from where we left off. Divinatory inscriptions that refer to silk. Thank you for the donation. I'm glad to have it. In the Zhou dynasty, silk became a material for writing on, and several early manuscripts survive. The alternative writing material was narrow slips of bamboo, which were written on a single column, then lashed together and rolled up from a scroll. Oop. Well, that's why I'm reading it out loud, and I'm definitely changing the book material afterward, but I will also offer any private lessons to anyone who wants to learn what this book is saying, or wants copies of the text afterward. Just hit me up in the chat after the live stream. The earliest work of literature is the Han Dynasty record of Zhao Dynasty songs, and though no Zhao silk version of it survives, many of the poems refer to the mulberry groves as silk cloths. So, I am a substitute teacher at the high school level. When a teacher needs a day off, I take the day for them. Silk is mentioned frequently in poems and novels throughout China's literary history, either as an object of praise in its own right or in well, if you guys have anything to spice up the conversation about silk, go ahead and state below. What I can say about silk, as of what my knowledge is that silk, up into the Tang Dynasty, was the most widely traded item from China to the rest of the world, and thusly why the Silk Road is named the Silk Road. So, it also played a practical role for the use of silk for writing. Documents was extended to calligraphy and painting, though paper was invented during the Han Dynasty. So this book is a slight history book, but it's a bunch of mini essays written on different topics. It's called the 70 Wonders of China. It's edited by Jonathan Fenby, and that's basically what I can say about the book. So I teach history usually. Thank you now, B52. I'm happy for the donation. Though paper was not invented during the Han Dynasty, so right now I have this, I have about 80 more pages in this book, and I will definitely switch it up to a United States history book, and actually I might even try to go back and forth for tomorrow's stream, if you guys would like. Welcome Linda to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight. So right now the book is talking about the Han Dynasty and the importance of silkwork during said Han Dynasty. So do enjoy, and if you have any knowledge or about the workings of silk, go ahead and post them below, and we will discuss. Thank you, You Are Blamed, for the donation. Glad to have it. Favored for its absence and responsiveness to the brush, silk continued to be used. However, particular for more colorful paintings, and from the 12th century onwards, techniques of tapestry weaving. Oops, our thing disappeared. Alright, we'll just continue here. Were so refined that woven silk pictures were created in close imitation of painted works. In the Ming Dynasty, welcome back now B52, and welcome Ronnie147. Glad you both could join us tonight. Were so refined that woven silk pictures were created in close imitation of painted works. In the Ming Dynasty, albums of pictures and calligraphy were produced in embroidery and became as highly sought after as albums of paintings. Silk brochures and tapestry weaves were used for wrapping scrolls and books. Thank you for the donation, Windy89. Welcome to the live stream, DDB. I'm glad you could all join us tonight. We are on the 54th Wonder of China, silkwork. The earliest complete silk robes. Welcome Shelley Hong to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight. The earliest complete silk robes date from the 5th to 6th centuries BC and were found in a tomb containing neatly wrapped bundles of silk garments of Jingling in Hebei province. They wrap to the left from the shoulder, just as later robes do, but without the tongles. Early garments also include cape, jacket, shirt, trousers, and shoes, and were made of silk gauze, lenos, damasks, brocades, braids, and embroideries. Some of these techniques were highly complex and all colored in later silks. The draw loop, a huge, complicated piece of textile equipment. Welcome to the live stream, Flona Kwong. Thank you for the smiles. Sorry for the bad connection. What do you mean read it? So, if I read any section again, I basically read it. I do not know One Belt and One Road. If you want to explain or examine that in the comments, go ahead and do so. Welcome SZJ 1985 9.19. I'm glad you could join us tonight, and I hope everyone's having a good time. So, let's continue. The most significant subsequent innovation... Oh, yeah, sure. There you are. The most significant subsequent motivation was the introduction of wave patterning shortly before the Tang Dynasty. Patterning in the wave rather than the warp allowed, well, thank you, Angela Sun, versatility in ornament and the intricate multicolored designs of many Tang fragments and garments from the Silk Road. Welcome Peter Yang, and welcome back SJ. Let's see. Oh, okay. So that's pretty cool, Haley. So, how long has the business been around? So I read slowly in order for the students to be able to read along. That's why I read slowly, so that you guys can follow along in the text. And welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight. Tang fragments and garments from the Silk Road bear vivid testimony to this. Welcome, Bob. I'm glad you could join us tonight. And I am in Victorville, California, in the United States. The period saw developments in clothing style with the influx of Westerners and luxuries via Central Asia. Okay, that's cool. Oh, sweet. You're the first person from Szechuan that I've met on these live streams. I'm glad to see you now, B52, and I'm glad you could come, A2C, to the live stream. We are on Silkworks, the 54th Wonder of China. If you have any knowledge about Silkworks, feel free to post in the comments below. The fashion for riding meant women began. Yeah, I will, for the next live stream, tomorrow I will shift to another book. Welcome Mr. Wu K to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight. We are on Silkworks. Robes tended to be quite loose cut and patterned with scattered floral decoration, rather than the repeated medallions of roundels of Tang weaves. In 13th century tomb belonging to the young married woman at Fuzhou in the southeast contained more than 200 silk items, many of them exquisitely delicate. So I think I'll let you know which book I read tomorrow in the comments, but I'll let you know toward the end of the live stream. Well-spaced flowers on a background of fine, transparent gauze. So, and for anyone on YouTube, welcome to the live stream. Alright, let's continue forward. Trousers were in a denser weave that will create a light fluid fabric. Clothes from the Ming Dynasty tombs are also made from silk pattern into weave, with geometric designs as well as motifs with auspicious symbolism such as bats, children, and seasonal flowers. At this time, the garments were often made of shiny silk satins. Oh, thank you. Welcome Evie AE1. I'm glad you could join us tonight. Welcome Gazelle A28. I'm glad to have you back tonight. We are on Silkworks. Clothes from the Ming Dynasty tombs are also made of silk pattern in the weave, with geometric design as well as motifs with auspicious. Oh, I read that. At this time, garments were often made of shiny silk satins, a new technological development. It was also in the Ming Dynasty that velvet began to be produced on any scale, through occasional examples of pile fabrics are known as early as the Han Dynasty. The best known clothes from China, however, are the dragon robes of the Qing Dynasty, so called after their association with the emperor of the court. Particular designs, 12 auspicious symbols, and dragons were distinct even with the... Shoot. You're going to have to edit that later. Given the growth in prosperity in the period and the increasingly widespread use of silk, large numbers of robes are evident, even if few have direct links with the imperial court. Okay, that's cool. Huh. Welcome Ambition DDO. I'm glad you could join us tonight. So, apparently there's problems with said book being seen, but we'll come back down here and look at the pages on the book. There's also a reason why I point the camera toward the book, so that it's easier to read. In the early 20th century, clothing in China adapted a more international style. Ladies' robes became shorter, and the guangpao, or chengsong, became the fashionable dress up until the foundation welcome to the live stream. Welcome back, You Are Blamed, and welcome everyone else. I'm glad you could join us. Dedication in 1949 of the People's Republic of China, with silk as ever the most favored fabric. Silk is slight in weight, warm in cold weather, and cool in hot. And these properties were exploited for furnishings as well as clothing. Bed hangings and covers, curtains, tables, and chair covers, which often consisted wedding gifts or trousers made by the bride herself, might be embroidery. Tapestry, weaves, gauzes, satins, or velvets. In the public sphere, silk was used for temple hangings and religious attire, and for opera and theater costumes. Silk was used in diplomacy and for paying taxes. Indeed, its trade and production played an important role in China's agriculture and economy as a utility. Beauty and province have played in this country's cultural life. So, where I am, it is 8:26 p.m. Angela-san, welcome back now, B52. Glad you could rejoin us for Silk Works. So, actually, before we move forward, I do have some pictures to show you guys. Let's just get out of that. This is that was the last page on Silkworks, and right here are the 6 volumes of the Buddhist Sutra with associated gold brochure covers, printed in 1584. At the very bottom is a Qing Dynasty brass and silk satin saddle, right here, and over here is the silk hanging scroll portraying the Qianlong Emperor, painted by the artist Gungspai Kaslong. On the previous page, we have a silk robe from the tomb of Huang Sheng at Fuzhou. On the page previous, we have a pair of silk shoes found at Niang, Mengfeng. And up here is a painting on silk by the anonymous court artist from the late Kangxing period. Indeed it is. Quite amazing. And right here is our album leaf from the Qing Dynasty volume, Agriculture and Sericulture, depicting people involved in the process of silk weaving. As you can see, there's basically got different weavers. Right here is your main textile weaver in the middle, for example. Over here are a couple observers, probably the mom showing the kid how to do it, how to weave silk. And at the very top right here, I'm not sure what this person's doing, but we will see. Welcome Bella878 to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight for the 70 Wonders of China. We have just finished Silkworks, and we're moving forward to our next section, Furniture, which is the welcome 70E to the live stream. We are in the 55th Wonder of China, Furniture. And let us begin in a second. If anyone has any furniture that they would like to talk about, which is the weirdest thing to talk about, but that's what I got for now, go ahead and post it in the comments below. If not, you can basically do as you please. With the quote above, we begin. The men of today make them in a matter which merely professes carved and painted decoration to the delight of the vulgar eye, with the antique pieces are cast aside, causing one to sigh in deep regret. Wang Zhenghang, Zhangwu Ji, A Treatise on Superfluous Things, 1615. Like most of the peoples indigenous to ancient East Asia, the Chinese people in the earliest times and at all levels of society sat or reclined on the floor, or less frequently on low platforms. The Eastern Han pottery tomb reflect found near Chengdu, Sichuan, shows formally dressed students seated in the kneeling position on the long rectangular mats, whereas the teacher is on the raised lower platform leaning on an armrest. This is a typical depiction of the complex hierarchy structure of seating that existed throughout Chinese history. In the centuries following the fall of the Han Dynasty, more and more depictions exist of figures, both religious and secular, seated not only on raised platforms, but also on forms of what we would now identify as chairs, with fixed rather than folding frames, with legs pendant. By the Tang Dynasty, there are depictions of figures seated on stools playing shuang lao, and a wall painted from a tomb in Nangwang. Welcome to the live stream, TYVOH. Welcome, Long MX. So, what we're looking at is furniture, and at the bottom of the page here is actually a detail from the Night Reveals of Han Shizhao. It's a copy of a 10th century hand scroll, a valuable historical source on early Chinese furniture design, of which you have some people sitting on chairs, some people sitting on higher chairs in order to represent the hierarchy. Welcome back. Wait a minute. Welcome Ronnie147 and everyone else who joined at this moment. I'm glad you could join us for tonight's live stream. Let's go further. Chagang country, Shaxi depicts figures shown cross-legged or with one leg hanging down from long benches at a table laden with food. Important evidence of this chair-level mode of living is shown in a hand scroll generally considered to be 12th century copy of painting attributed to the 10th century painter Guang Hongzhong, entitled The Night Reveals of Hong Jingzhao, in which high tables for eating, as well as suitable proportioned chairs and couches, are represented. The tables depicted form what continues throughout the history of Chinese furniture, although this painting are back chairs. So actually, furniture's a little boring. I actually do agree. Hello back, Ronnie147, and welcome everyone else to the live stream. You know what? I'm just going to look at the pictures in this section since it's literally just a section on furniture. I agree, it is kind of dull. So, pictures of furniture. On the left is a red lacquer folding table with incised and filled with gold decoration from the late 14th century to the early 15th century. And over here is a carved red lacquer table with drawers from 1426 to 1435. Welcome to the live stream. We're just browsing over the pictures and furniture because the reading about furniture is probably the most boring thing we've ever discussed together. Right here is a pair of horseshoe armchairs made from the Huang Hall wood and woven cane. Welcome Ambition. Oh wait. Right over here is another table. This one is from the 17th century. Just up here is one of the 12 beauties sitting at a heavy decorated chair. Oh yeah, and good evening, Lith. I'm glad you could join us tonight. I am basically just scrolling through furniture because no one's interested in furniture anyway, so. And right up here is a pair of softwood black and gilt lacquer armchairs from the 18th century. They're actually kind of nice, a little bit too fancy for my taste. So. And on the next page is gardens. So, welcome Fancy DC. I'm glad you could join us tonight. So, in college, in the Asian philosophy course, we actually examined gardens from. We actually went to a Chinese garden and looked at the design of gardens in our Asian philosophy class because it's really important. Welcome Shelley Huang and welcome Fanny DC. I'm glad you could join us tonight. We are looking at gardens, and welcome Shi. So garden design, specifically in Japanese origin, is Japanese garden design focuses on a sort of minimalism in which in the garden you have minimal things put together. In a lot of Western gardens, one of the differences, you have Georgian design. Georgian design is where you have equally proportioned, balanced sections of the garden. On the left, there is a shrubbery, and on the right, there is another shrubbery. And both are decorated. Yeah, I do like Chinese history, Ronnie 147. So on a Georgian garden, typically you'd have a shrubbery on the left and a shrubbery on the right end of said garden that looked exactly the same or very much in complement of each other to form a union of the garden. Whereas, like in a Japanese garden and also a Chinese garden, you have different parts of said garden that are unbalanced, less balanced than usual. For example, you might have a rock on the left, and on the right you might have a tree with a pond around it, which is basically the format for a garden in Japan or China. Now, if we were to look into Chinese garden design specifically, one of the most interesting parts about said garden design, yes, it is, Chinese architecture is influenced by Chinese philosophy. For example, I was about to say there is a section in Chinese gardens in which there is a mound, an artificial mound, if not a real mound, that is usually built in. For example, that mound, for example, in a Chinese garden, there's usually a mound at the other end or middle of said garden, and that mound represents something like steps to heaven or the sages. And with Chinese architecture, as we discussed a week ago, buildings are built in order to keep away evil spirits and let in good ones. Whereas in Western philosophy, you look for a balance for the human eye, or at least in Western architecture, you look for a balance in the eye, which is why Georgian gardens, welcome Emily Shane to the live stream and everyone else, glad you joined tonight. Whereas why Western gardens have a Georgian design in which all sections of the garden complement each other as a whole, whereas in a Chinese garden, each section of the garden... Yeah, let me show you a picture real quick. I just have to get over here. Let's see. Yeah, Georgian garden. After, like, King George is who it's named after. Welcome Lobsang Chodong. And it's kind of a generic term for the type of garden made during the Georgian King George period. Specifically 1714 to 1830. And it's a, let's see. I'm going to turn the screen around real quick. Right here. Here's an image of a Georgian garden right here. You see basically a central building with flowers that align it evenly on both left and right. And scroll down, welcome TCH. We're taking a small detour from our 70 Wonders of China. Since we're doing the garden section, I thought I would show you some Georgian gardens. Here's another image of a Georgian garden. It's very clean cut. The trees are in their proper places. Welcome. So, and then we'll scroll down. Oh, I'm going to go back. And let's see. Welcome to the live stream. So, welcome to the live stream, Fonu FXZK. Let me pull up some Chinese and Japanese gardens to look at, and we can probably just go through the 56th Wonder of China in this way, rather than reading this section in the book. After the artistic section in the book is basically the inventions and achievements section. So, but let's go look at some. Let's go look at some gardens. All right. So this right here. This right here is a Chinese garden, like the central part of it. It looks very much like the Portland Chinese garden, where there's a big central pond. Then we have over here. Here's an architectural build and layout of design of said Chinese gardens. You have a central pond. You have a main entryway. And you have all the buildings scattered throughout said garden, divided with nature. Whereas in a European garden, there's usually only one building. In a Chinese or Japanese garden, you would have like a tea house in certain portions of said garden, in a separate location from the main house. Another important feature of a Chinese garden specifically is the fact that Chinese gardens are usually built as far away from the welcome. Yeah, no, it is a beautiful garden design. I wish gardens could grow in the desert, but they can't. Welcome Maggie Dao to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight. So a Chinese garden basically is usually built at the edge or outside of a town, and European gardens are as well. Welcome Lisa C. I'm glad you could join us tonight. We are, instead of reading the section on gardens, we're just looking at pictures and examining the gardens as a small change. If we go back into the book real quick, it actually has some Chinese gardens. Like right here. Right here is parts of the Yuepei, Garden of Cultivation. Yeah, no, that's gardens do bring peace, and they're meant to do so. The design of Japanese and Chinese gardens are meant to bring peace to the mind. This one was made in the 17th century. On the next page, we have the Liyang Garden of Lingering in Fuzhou, on the site of a garden built by a wealthy scholar official from the Ming Dynasty. Another note to keep in mind with Chinese gardens is their practicality actually changed over time. For example, earlier gardens prior to like the Ming Dynasty that were built usually were built as a form of producing more food. Gardens by the Ming Dynasty were made specifically for creating an impression on people who visited said garden. Welcome CAA plus OS to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight. But later gardens like this one from the Ming Dynasty were made to set an impression. The rock right here is called the Cloud-Caped Peak and was originally shipped from the Lake Tai, 25 miles away. So, welcome Henry Kamen, welcome Annie Lunier, and I am inside the United States in Victorville, California. Now, the rock formations are basically meant to escalate toward the heavens. And another funny thing about garden design, specifically in Japan and China, is that wait, just escaped my mind. 1 second. Just blacked out. Well, while I think about that, we're gonna go on to our next little bit. This is a view of the Yueyang, located in Shanghai, Old Town. This was originally built in 1559. Covers an area of 20,000 square meters. Has an inner and outer garden. And right here is an engraving of the Jesuit Material Rippo in 1713, showing off the imperial gardens at the time. On the next page is our inventions and achievements, which we will get to in a future live stream. Welcome Ababa to the live stream. We are looking at gardens. If anyone has been to a western or eastern garden, go ahead and comment in the section below and we can discuss about it thoroughly. I myself know a little bit of... Okay, so that's actually kind of cool. Welcome back, Mr. Bob. I'm glad you could join us tonight. So, apparently, some of the gardens were built for typhoons. They were built to withstand typhoons, correct, Haley? Let's see. And a lot of gardens that were built were initially built in the countryside during the Ming Dynasty, or the ones that were built during that time, where gardens switched from practicality to more of a eye-catchy thing. But as cities grew, as they did during the Ming Dynasty, a lot of gardens, such as the one in Shanghai, actually started to pop up in the middle of cities. In kind of a way like Central Park popped up, was made specifically in the middle of New York City. But these gardens were not initially inside these growing, bustling centers. Hello back, Bob. I hope your day is going pretty well. Welcome to the live stream. We are talking about gardens. Chinese gardens, Japanese gardens, just any gardens. If any of you have comments about gardens, go ahead and post them below. As far as the 70 wonders go, we have actually 13. We have 13 more wonders in the book left. Nice to meet you too, Bob. And these wonders are all specifically in innovations in technology. As a prequel to that, here's a picture in said book. This is a picture of a bridge in the middle of the Qua Bridge in Suzhou, of which is built for pedestrians and ships. So my favorite wonder so far probably has to be the Tibetan monuments in said book. The Tibetan monuments and buildings actually look the best to me. So, my home is, think of my home as like a desert area, so it's not necessarily beautiful, except in a way that a desert is beautiful. Welcome, Cassell, to the live stream, and welcome 158. We are just doing some basic discussion. I think, it was suggested that we take a break from the 70 Wonders of China, and we'll take a small break tomorrow. We only have 13 wonders left after our discussion tonight, but I feel that on my end, and as well as your end, that we have thoroughly exhausted this book over the past couple weeks. So, I'll definitely do a small break with another book. Do any of you have any book suggestions at the moment? I have a few books in my library from college, but none of them are picture books, of course. So I'm going to look around. Welcome, Maggie520. I'm glad you could join us on the live stream tonight. Let's see. I'm gonna look for an American history book. As a little sidetrack. Let's see, we have this. Welcome to the live stream. I'm just looking at some books for tomorrow's live stream. We're going to take a small break tomorrow from the 70 Wonders of China, since it's a small vacation, just like your vacation this week. And this is a quote book about Abraham Lincoln. Let's see, so it was suggested that we look at American history as a change of pace, and I'm taking a look at the books that I got on that are not like too difficult to look at and have plenty of pictures. I have in my hand currently a massive book on the Civil War that we can browse through for some topics. Let's take a look. So this is for tomorrow's live stream. It's a very thick book, it's very big, but the internals of said book, once we get past some of the sections here, there's certain sections in the book that definitely read. Let's see. There's plenty of diaries in said book. There's a note here. I can only say a few words in Chinese myself. Mostly it's related to city names and some of the combat styles. So that's about it. So actually, this book would be a good one to look at for tomorrow's live stream. It has a lot of big pictures. It's basically a book on the American Civil War that was published about 10 years ago that I still have from my childhood, but has big pictures. It has big text that we can look at. Right here is a sample of the Ulysses S. Grant section. Has a few generals. Up here is river steamboats. And we can definitely go through this. I'm just kind of looking around, giving you guys a taster for tomorrow's live stream. Here's a little bit of battle there. If anyone has any questions or comments about tonight's material or tomorrow's live stream, go ahead and post them in the comments below. Oh yeah, no, it's Gone with the Wind took place during and after the Civil War, specifically during the Reconstruction era. So the Reconstruction era is actually a very difficult era to study in terms of being very much a controversy as to certain organizations. Here's a nice little battle map right here. Battle of the Chalon. You can see the different forces around here. So this is sample for tomorrow's Break in the Storm, which is a Civil War book. Here's the front cover right here of said book, I believe. Am I right? Nope, that's not the front cover. Another cool battle. So much of what's recorded in this book is from the from the Civil War that takes place in the toward the East Coast. None of what takes place in this book is from the welcome Dong Shiwang to the live stream. I'm glad you could join us tonight. We're taking a look at tomorrow's sample material, and I'll get back to YouTube and show them as well. Here's a nice cavalryman. Welcome 841 to tonight's live stream. We will do this as a Break in the Storm tomorrow. We'll just go through and read a section in the book. This is just a sampler. At the same time, 11 a.m. China time, we will be going through this book. I'm going to go to the table of contents, if it exists. It doesn't look... Ah, there we are. So, this is a 700-page book, very big. We have ourselves illustrated chronology of the Civil War, an illustrated encyclopedia of Civil War, and we have memoirs of Grant and Lee. So, do you guys think we should go through some of the memoirs, through the encyclopedia, or the chronology? I think I'm going to turn to the page on naval warfare on 414, just out of curiosity. Just because that might be cool to look at. Pistols and revolvers. Let's just go over naval warfare right here. And some nice pictures there. Thank you, Maggie, for the donation. Tomorrow we'll be going through some history on the Civil War as a Break in the Storm for all the lovely students there. Right here is a couple more boats. Here's a crewman with his big cannon ready to blast open a ship. Here's another big old cannon ready to blast open a ship in the background. And I think this is our ironclad in the book. Right here. The Monitor ironclad specifically. Right here are crew members of the USS Monitor preparing food. Here's the interior of the Monitor's turret. Right here is the artist version of the battle between the Monitor and the Virginia, right here. And at the very top is the CSS Virginia attacking the USS Cumberland. The Virginia was an ironclad ship, by the way. Welcome, Kathy, 5156. Join us for tomorrow's live stream, a special about the Civil War at 11 a.m. And call me afterward if you want to set up any lessons or anything. And I'll hope to see you all tomorrow. Now, as for the live stream with YouTube, live stream, I'm still kind of figuring out camera positions and so forth for this to work. But what I do have is our big old book I can prepare for tomorrow. This big thing. I think I might go through the naval warfare section, and perhaps we can study together. I hope you all have a good night, and we'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Pacific time.